thought that was a strange move, because I'm wondering, why is he doing it? He's not trying to play offside. He just almost vacates the area, leaves his man, and his man scores. But no, I get it. Once the ball goes over your head, to switch back onto a new phase of attack, new angles, new players, it changes the game.
It's second phase in the box, which is so important. You know, all the times I was working, you know, from crosses and from corner kicks, it's always trying to encourage your players not to get totally caught up in the first phase. Let the person who's in the first phase, in the heading duel, that's nothing to do with you, but don't you get caught up in that. You keep concentrating on what your job is. As Michael's rightly pointed out, his job there was not to allow Madueke to get in front of him. But it does happen more often than you think, and so many goals are scored on that second phase from a cross or a corner kick, more than you think.
And you're right, it's understandable. You think the ball, you're concentrating on not letting your man score, and then when the ball goes out of your area, you think, phew, that's it, that's the job done. It's all, and then all of a sudden, and an attacker's job is totally the opposite.
Exactly.
You see the ball going out of your zone, and you think, you don't turn and what? You think, right, how am I going to score again? How am I going to score again? Every split second, you're thinking, where's the opportunity? How can I get on the end of it? So it's a different way of thinking, of course. One's an optimist, one's a pessimist. But yeah, I think Wolves could have prevented. They will certainly will be frustrated that they conceded it on a set piece.
But you loved Madueke being alive.
Absolutely. I'd expect nothing less from my attacking player. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of goals scored from set pieces tonight. So it just shows you the importance of them. You know, defenders coming up, using their size, their strength, and but that time it was an attacking player that just thinks differently. Let's say, smells something that could happen. Or, you know, as I say, as aside from Doherty then, and I like that. Obviously, it wasn't a special finish, but just his awareness and his anticipation, I think, is to be commended.
Are they an even bigger part of the game than we've seen in a long time at the moment? These set plays seems to be, you know, we've got specialist coaches, we've got, you know, record numbers. Is it becoming even more pertinent, do you think, Roy?
One always seems to think so, and yet when you see the statistics at the end of the year and the percentage of goals scored from set plays, it seems to stay fairly stable around the 35-36% mark, which is always strange. And of course, it depends what you mean by set plays as well, really. I mean, it's I think one needs to break it down from corner kicks, from shots outside the box, direct free kicks, from the wide free kick that comes in. I'd like to see all that compartmentalised. But it's always been a very big part of the game. There's no doubt about that. And what we definitely have seen over the years I've been working, the quality of delivery is getting better and better. You've still got the situation, if you want to really score goals from set plays, you need people who can get on the end of the ball from the ball that's played in. To be fair, the ball's coming in now. If they do get on the end of it, makes scoring that a little bit easier. But you can go right back to the famous Leeds team with Reilly and Charlton and all those people, you know, basically decent ball in. Jackie Charlton or Tony Adams want to get their head on the ball, and John Terry, they get their head on the ball. Yeah. You know, and so nothing really changes strategically, but I do think you know, it's always been a very, very important part of the game, and I think that we are seeing now people coming into coaching staffs who really have got only one job, and that is to constantly analyse the opponents, where their weaknesses could be, to work possibly on different little movements. But I've got to say, I've not really seen that many free kicks, however clever they are, where I'm saying I've never seen that before. They've always been there, but people's ability to really hone in and get the best out of situations, that's, you know, with Arsenal, how many times are the goals they score to do with Gabriel?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I just wonder, when you were managing, even in the last couple of years, the day before a match, how much time would you spend on telling the group something, or in the week leading up to the game, something, let's say you were playing Arsenal, for example, at the moment, with Gabriel?
Well, you'd use your video analysis. That would be probably the major thing you do. Of course, you would go through it as well on the field, but the problem with going through on the field of play, and I learned this very early on, just before a European game when I was in Sweden, you know, having players in there having balls fizzed in as they're going to be fizzed in, and having people defending like they should defend, you risk injury. I lost a player from a head injury. It was a heading duel and one got cut, and that's it. Couldn't play the next day. So we're always very conscious of that. So a lot of it is done more or less in shadow play. In not every club, I'm sure, but in my clubs, I've always done it more shadow play, making certain people know their positions, attacking and defending, and then you really go through it in the video analysis. So I would like to think that the teams that I've coached have gone out knowing what our set plays should look like and what they're going to come up against. But at the end of the day, it is a question, well, what delivery have we got? What delivery are we facing? How keen are we to get on the end of the ball? And how keen were they to get on the end of the ball? And sometimes you'll come away saying, well, they were better than us at set plays, but it might not be because they had better shape for their set plays. It might just have been that the quality was better and they had people prepared to make the effort to get on the end of the ball.
Does help. I mean, I've been thinking of set pieces for a while, and on the final word, we've done some analysis over the weeks. And my initial impression, as you're talking there about, the percentage of set pieces that have been scored this season, my initial feeling, and I don't know if I would be right, would be that a lot of corners are being scored from this season. Fewer goals from direct free kicks nowadays.
Yeah,
obviously, they're lying players under the wall. Then that enables everyone to jump. Very few goals going from direct free kicks compared to in previous seasons. So, but I guess by the end of it, as Roy said, by the end of the season, it'll be a similar number to normal. But I do think corners are becoming possibly more important. And as I say, maybe free kicks less relevant. But there will be somebody that's analysing this and thinking, right, we're going to have to do something different now to gain an advantage in a certain thing. And I think the free kicks, direct free kicks from the edge of the box, are the next thing to be changed. I think there's not enough goals going in from them at the moment. I think that'll change soon.
Well, our man Chris has analysed it, as you would expect. 80 corner goals this season, which is down on this stage last season. Only 7 direct free kick goals all season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Okay, so corners are down as well.
Corners are slightly down.
That's fascinating, because they have made all the headlines, haven't they? Especially with Arsenal.
And I think that's what you were alluding to there, wasn't it?
It's still quite even if the percentage stays at a third or just over a third, that's still an awful lot of goals.
Yeah.
And especially if you're conceding from them, it's or having a good spell where you're scoring, it's going to make an enormous difference, because 1/3 of all your goals scored. Goals are hard to score, as Michael knows more than any of us. To have someone who can get those goals for you, either through free play or from set play, that's going to make a hell of a difference at the end of the season. The last time, my last period at my last season at Palace, we conceded a lot of goals from corner kicks. Far too many.
So Chelsea did get them. And what do we think about top 4 at this stage? The youngest starting 11 on average in the Premier League. Are they above where people expected them to be at this stage? I would say
either just above or par. I think if you're expecting them to be second in the league at the moment, you're probably expecting a little bit too much.
But given the chaos Enzo Maresca walked into when he walked through the door.
Absolutely. So I think, in my eyes, I would say, casting my mind back to the start of the season, would I expect that? Yeah, I think they're slightly overperforming at the moment, doing well. 4th in the league. If they finish 4th in the league, I think most Chelsea fans would have snapped your hand off at the start of the season. Doing well, as you say. It's a young team. It's going to improve. I've really been impressed with this manager. He had so many players. It must be such a temptation to mix and match, keep everybody happy, but you don't get any continuity. I love the way you just go, this is my squad. You're not playing. In fact, I'll have a bit of a European team. Now we're getting to a bit of a transfer window. I'm going to get rid of 3 or 4 players just to prune the team a little bit more. And I've really been impressed with the way he's done it. Yes, it's hard on some, harsh on some, but that's just the way it is. And it's a lot easier to manage, I would guess, than having 25 players and be trying to keep happy all the time.
Because we had Frank Lampard with us before he took the Coventry job. And when he went back in that interim spell and he didn't have any power, he said, I was walking out on the training pitch with 31 players. He said, it's just an impossible situation.
And 20 of them knocking on his door saying, why aren't playing?
Of course. No, I agree entirely with what Michael was saying. I think that's a very good summary of the situation. I think 4th place is very good, and I think it is important not to have too many players. I know that people think it's good to have lots of players, but they don't know what it's like to be in a situation where you've got to manage those players, and it's a harsh job being a manager in the sense that that every week you're going to disappoint more players these days than you actually make happy. I mean, in the past when it was really 15, 16 people competing, you were disappointing 5 or 6, but now you're probably disappointing 14 or 15. You have a constant stream knocking on your door, and there's so little you can tell them when they come in. Why did I play? Well, I can only play 11, basically. That's all you can say.
Yeah, you're out of excuses after a little while. I can imagine. It must be difficult. But then again, you get the flip side when you have a small squad and you get a few injuries, and all of a sudden you have to rely on the kids or players that you don't want. So there is absolutely a balance, I'm sure. But I think I would agree with Roy. If I was going to go into managing, I'd probably err on the smaller squad than the bigger one.
But they've got a good foundation here to push on, and as Michael says,
yes.
if they can finish in the Champions League spots this season, that's been a good season for us.
They'll have a good chance of finishing in a European spot, won't they? Because I think the European spots are going further and further down. You're going almost to 7 now to be able to say we're going to play in Europe next year. You want to be in the big league, of course. You want to be in that top 4 or possibly 5. But I think that they'll be satisfied, and I think everything Michael said about the youth of the team and the job that Maresca's done in trying to sort out what his team really needs to look like, he deserves a lot of credit. And this was an important win tonight, because if they hadn't won this one tonight, it would have been more games without that win.
And it just